Trump threatens federal takeover of D.C. after attack on DOGE worker. What's next? The recent attack on a former DOGE worker in Washington, D.C., leaving him injured, has reignited President Donald Trump's long-standing threat to federalize the city. This incident, which involved an attempted carjacking, has brought renewed scrutiny to the safety and governance of the nation's capital. On Tuesday, Trump took to Truth Social, stating, "If D.C. doesn't get its act together and quickly, we will have no choice but to take federal control of the city and run this city how it should be run and put criminals on notice that they're not going to get away with it anymore." This strong stance comes on the heels of a similar attack on a congressional intern in June, which remains unsolved. Elon Musk, who once led the U.S. DOGE service, echoed Trump's sentiments, calling for federalization of D.C. in response to the attack. The victim, identified as Edward Coristine, was also known by the nickname Big Balls, and the attack was captured in a graphic image posted alongside Trump's statement. D.C. police arrested a 15-year-old boy and girl from Maryland, charging them with unarmed carjacking. Despite the arrests, the incident has sparked further debate about the city's safety and the effectiveness of local law enforcement. Critics argue that the Democratic-led government has failed to address crime effectively, while supporters point to a significant drop in violent crime, down 26% year-to-date compared to 2024. Trump's call for federalization and prosecution of juveniles as adults as young as 14 raises eyebrows. But here's where it gets controversial. Does federalizing D.C. actually solve the problem, or does it risk undermining local autonomy and trust in government? Some argue that the issue lies more with specific policies and leadership within the city, rather than a complete overhaul. The attack on Coristine highlights a broader pattern of violence against federal workers in D.C. This is the part most people miss. While overall crime rates have decreased, high-profile incidents continue to occur, fueling public distrust and political tensions. U.S. Attorney Jeanine Ferris-Pirro, who met with Trump to discuss D.C. crime, emphasized the need to remove guns and drugs from the streets. However, her role is limited to federal cases, and many juveniles are prosecuted under D.C. law, which allows for some flexibility in how cases are handled. D.C. Attorney General Brian Schwab acknowledged the incident as disturbing, but emphasized the commitment to holding perpetrators accountable. "No one should have to experience this," he stated, promising to prosecute those who break the law. The attempted carjacking occurred around 3 a.m. on Swan Street Northwest, where about 10 juveniles confronted Coristine and another person. The presence of a police cruiser deterred the suspects, leading to the arrest of 2 individuals. Coristine's move to roles at the state and Homeland Security departments earlier this year raised concerns about his access to sensitive information. His current position at the Social Security Administration places him in a different context, but the incident still underscores the broader safety concerns. Trump's history of criticizing D.C. as a dirty, crime-ridden death trap, and his efforts to create the D.C. Safe and Beautiful Task Force reflect a broader agenda to reshape the city. In 2020, the Trump administration even considered taking over the D.C. police force, an unprecedented move that highlighted the tension between federal and local control. As D.C. grapples with these issues, the debate over federalization remains contentious. Does Trump's approach offer a solution, or is it a dangerous overreach that could undermine local governance? Your thoughts on this matter could shape the future of the city's governance. Trump's threat to take control of D.C. after Big Balls' attack. In a bold move that has stirred significant discussion, President Donald Trump has threatened to impose federal control over Washington, D.C., following a violent incident involving a prominent staff member of the Department of Government Efficiency, known online as Big Balls. This incident, which occurred over the weekend, involved Edward Coristine and a woman identified in police reports as his partner, who were victims of an attempted carjacking in the early hours of Sunday. The Washington Metropolitan Police Department announced on Tuesday that they had apprehended two 15-year-old suspects from Maryland in connection with this crime. In a post on social media, Trump, while not naming Coristine, expressed his concerns about the escalating crime rates in the capital, describing the situation as totally out of control. He stated, local youths and gang members, some as young as 14, 15, and 16, are randomly attacking, mugging, maiming, and shooting innocent citizens, fully aware that they will likely be released shortly after their arrest. Trump further argued that minors as young as 14 should face adult charges for their actions. He warned, if D.C. doesn't get its act together, and quickly, we will have no choice but to take federal control of the city, manage it properly, and ensure that criminals understand they will not escape justice any longer. Elon Musk, the former head of DOGE, shared a screenshot of Trump's post on X supporting the call for federal intervention in Washington. Musk recounted a harrowing incident where a group of about a dozen young men attempted to assault a woman in her vehicle at night in D.C. He noted that a DOGE team member intervened, resulting in severe injuries including a concussion, but ultimately saving the woman. According to the police report, the vehicle involved belonged to Coristine. Officers responding to the scene observed approximately 10 juveniles surrounding the car and attacking Coristine, prompting them to intervene. Most of the suspects fled, with only 2 being apprehended. Coristine later recounted that he had pushed his partner into the car for safety before confronting the attackers, who then assaulted him. The investigation is ongoing. Led by the carjacking task force, with several suspects still at large. U.S. Attorney for Washington, Janine. Interestingly, despite Trump's claims of rampant violence, preliminary police data indicates that violent crime in Washington has actually decreased by 26% compared to the previous year. This incident comes on the heels of a tragic event where a 21-year-old congressional intern was fatally shot in a separate incident just a month prior. Trump has previously voiced his intention to clean up the nation's capital and has hinted at a federal takeover of the city, which currently has limited self-governing powers. Congress retains the authority to revoke these powers at its discretion, including that of the president. This situation raises critical questions about the balance of power and the effectiveness of local governance. Are federal interventions the solution to urban crime, or do they undermine local authority? What do you think? Share your thoughts in the comments. Trump threatens to federalize D.C. after DOGE employee Big Balls beaten. Crime crisis escalates. In a bold move that has stirred significant discussion, President Donald Trump has threatened to take federal control of Washington, D.C. This statement comes in the wake of a violent incident involving a well-known former employee of the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, Edward Coristine, affectionately nicknamed Big Balls. Coristine was reportedly attacked while attempting to assist a woman in distress, highlighting the growing concerns over safety in the Capitol. On his social media platform, Truth Social, Trump expressed his outrage, stating that local youth and gang members are engaging in random acts of violence, including attacks, muggings, and shootings, all while being aware that they will likely be released shortly after their crimes. He accompanied his post with a disturbing image of Coristine, bloodied and injured on the street. Sources have confirmed that Coristine was assaulted late Sunday or early Monday, and this incident has reignited discussions about crime and safety in D.C. Trump emphasized that the recent victim was brutally beaten by local criminals, suggesting that if such violence continues, he would be compelled to use his authority to federalize the city. He stated, "Perhaps this should have been addressed long ago, as it could have spared this remarkable young man and many others from the horrors of violent crime." Elon Musk, the former head of DOGE, also weighed in on the situation, recounting a recent event where a group of young men attempted to assault a woman in her vehicle at night. Musk noted that Coristine intervened to protect her, resulting in severe injuries, including a concussion, but ultimately saving her from harm. He echoed Trump's call for federal intervention in D.C. During a press conference, Trump reiterated his stance, stating that the local government must improve its handling of crime and public safety. He expressed concern that criminals seem to operate without fear of repercussions, as they often face no significant consequences for their actions. Trump declared, "Washington, D.C. must be a safe, clean, and beautiful place for all Americans and for the world to witness. If the city does not take immediate action to rectify these issues, we will have no choice but to assume federal control and ensure that criminals understand they will not escape justice any longer." This alarming situation follows a series of violent incidents in the area, including an armed carjacking involving a House staffer and a chaotic takeover of a park by teenagers, which resulted in multiple arrests. In another tragic event, a congressional intern was shot in a drive-by shooting, underscoring the urgent need for effective measures to combat crime in the Capitol. As the debate continues, one must ask, is federal intervention the solution to the rising crime rates in Washington, D.C., or could it lead to further complications? What are your thoughts on this controversial issue? Share your opinions in the comments below.